Morning guys, Joe here. It's good to see you again today. Thanks for joining me for another early fire morning video here. Today we're going to be back in the Sermon on the Mount again, looking at the kingdom as Jesus offers it, life with God, this new covenant that he offers us. And we're going to be talking about sin today. Specifically, we're going to be talking about lust, but the ideas that Jesus talks about kind of spread out to all of sin. And it's kind of a taboo word these days, sin. I don't know if you're not supposed to have absolutes anymore, things that are just wrong or are just right. But there's this quote, and I don't know much about Barry Goldwater. I wasn't really conscious of the politics or anything when that was going on with Barry Goldwater and Reagan and all this stuff. But there's a quote from Barry Goldwater I think is a good one, and it applies to what we want to talk about today. He said, "Extremism in defense of liberty is no vice, and moderation in the pursuit of justice is no virtue." In other words, there's a time and a place in life to be all in, completely full throttle, 100% go, go, go. And, I think that kind of idea is really... The world doesn't like that kind of idea. It doesn't like the idea of men or of women being 100% for or against. They want to make everything gray and everything relative truth and relative morality and everything like that. But there's a time and a place to be all in, 100%. This far and no further, that's all there is to it. And Jesus talks about how extreme we're supposed to be with sin in this passage today. So let me read it to you. He says, "You have heard it said," we're reading from Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 through 30. Okay. And I read from the ESV Bible too, so if that's something you care about. He says here, "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it's better that you lose one of your members than your whole body go into hell." Now, it sounds extreme, right? And I guess first off, let's get to the adultery and lust part. Now, what Jesus is doing in this dialogue, and I don't want to get so super preachy. I don't want this to be like a 30-minute, 40-minute video. I got to get to the high points here. But what Jesus is doing is he's taking these old laws that have been around forever. The 10 Commandments, you shall not commit adultery. In other words, sexual activity outside of the holy bond of marriage was prohibited. God gives us rules for a lot of reasons. Just like he tells us not to murder and not to steal, he gives us boundaries in life to give life its form and to make it what it is supposed to be. He gives it guardrails to keep us safe and to keep life being what it was created to be. And this is one of those. Don't have sexual activity outside of marriage. He does this obviously to teach us what is sacred, I just said, to protect us, to give life its glorious form. And so he has our best in mind when he gives us these laws. But anyway, so Jesus here is taking these rules and he's saying not only does it matter what happens outside, what you do with your body, which does matter, it does matter, but also what happens in your mind and what happens in your heart matters. And God wants to have all of us, not just the outward parts, because after all, we're much more than just what comes out of us. There's all kinds of stuff going on inside of us all the time, and God is interested in that stuff, and he wants that stuff too, and he wants to make that glorious too, not just our outward looks, our appearances. But what he says next, so it's important, men, women, what you do in your mind. Somebody attractive looks by or walks by and you take a look. We've all done it before. Be careful what you think. But what he says next, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it's better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it's better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell. I like how Jesus gives us extremity here. And I think it's a good challenge for us in a wishy-washy, relativistic culture and world that he says, man, be a hardliner. If you see something in your life is causing you to trip up, get rid of it. Cut it off. Throw it away. It's better to go through life without that thing than it is to let it destroy you like cancer from the inside out. I think that so many people mischaracterize Jesus, and they mischaracterize Christian men and women as being lovey-dovey, nice people. Jesus was the ultimate nice guy who never had judgment, and he was soft and gentle and kind. He was at times. There's also times when Jesus went into the temple. He says he fashioned a whip, and he went into the temple and drove out what was not holy in the temple. And in the same way, he's telling us to get violent with it. Drive out of your life the things that you know are tripping you up. That's our challenge for everybody. You know, shoot, another misconception is that pastors have it all together. I'm just a man, just like every other man. So is every other pastor out there. There's not one that's above anybody else except for Jesus himself. All of us need to look at the things that are wrong in our lives and hate anything that is tripping us up and keeping God's best from us. So today, get fired up. I'm calling these videos early fire. I want you to get fired up about pursuing a glorified life in Jesus, letting him take hold of not just your actions, but your thoughts and your feelings of your heart to make them into something beautiful and powerful and unleashing the best that he has for us, that he bought for us with his blood. So get fired up about life this morning and go out there and do some good. This is Joe, and I hope you guys have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.